your government also has the right to expropriate land for public use.
There's no question that in January, South Africa passed a law that makes it legal to seize privately owned land without compensation. That's very clear. That is the law now in South Africa. So all that goes down between the two of them. President Trump's trying to make a point. The South African president's rejecting it, but President Trump is showing video. And then this guy, I guess it's a professional golfer named Goosen, his last name, Retief Goosen. He was brought along by the South African president. He's supposed to be a witness for him, but the more he talked, the worse it seemed to get.
If you don't think Donald Trump is racist, then you did not just witness what happened between him and the South African president in the Oval Office while they were supposed to be discussing coming together on a bill. Donald Trump never gave a fuck about Gaza. He never gave a fuck about you. So for everybody who said, oh my goodness, we are voting for...
Yes, the mainstream media will never stop to amaze me. It is crazy to see this every time.
To the dramatic scene in the Oval Office today, the tense confrontation, President Trump ambushing the president of South Africa.
Up next, another Oval Office meltdown, President Trump ambushing the president of South Africa.
President Trump is being accused of conducting something of a diplomatic ambush of South Africa's president in the Oval Office.
To be with you, I'm Katie Tur. President Trump orchestrated another Oval Office ambush today.
Today, Donald Trump meeting with the president of South Africa and attempting to ambush and humiliate that leader.
Zelensky territory, where essentially he was a bit ambushed inside the Oval Office.
Felt like an ambush in there, kind of like the President Zelensky meeting in the Oval Office.
This was an ambush. It was orchestrated.
Cyril Ramaphosa brought his best diplomatic self to this meeting, but nothing could have prepared him for this multimedia ambush.
What started as, to some degree, an ambush.
Well, Katie, I mean, it was an ambush.
Ambush.
It's ambushed.
Ambush.
An ambush.
Ambushing.
Ambushed inside the Oval Office.
Yes, the mainstream media will never stop to amaze me. They pick up a new word, ambush. They attributed what happened President Trump, showing these clips of this man saying some ridiculous things about white South Africans, like that was an ambush. I don't know how this relate to this. Some says this is just the same thing that happened to Zelensky. I didn't see the relation to this. This was just normal for Trump to show him what is going on. As of the videos, I've been seeing these clips everywhere on social media. It was just a reminder, you're refusing that this is not happening in your country. Take a look at this. If you have anything to say, this leader who have been saying these things about white South Africans, he released a statement immediately went off on Elon Musk that he will never allow Starlink to operate in South Africa.
Be convinced that there's no white beside in South Africa.
Well, I can answer that for President. It will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans, some of whom are his good friends, like those who are here. When we have talks between us on around a quiet table, it will take President Trump to listen to them. I'm not going to be repeating what I've been saying. I would say if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can bet you these three gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture. He would not be with me. So it will take him, President Trump, listening to their stories, to their perspective. That is the answer to your question.
The president of South Africa shows up in the Oval. And first what happens here in SOT 40 is President Trump shows them video of what President Trump says are burial grounds in South Africa. Now, this is the New York Times' description of this. This is an extraordinary scene. The Trump team clearly came to the meeting prepared to play videos backing up their false claim that there are mass killings against the white South Africans. Ramaphosa began by turning to the video and smiling, visibly surprised. He had been sitting in his seat silently, keeping his eyes elsewhere. I'd like to know where that is, because this I've never seen, says Ramaphosa, suggesting without directly saying it that Trump is being misled and this video is from somewhere other than South Africa. Then he tried, the South African president, to explain land law, and Trump had an interjection of his own.
Yes, when you take a look at what is going on, this opposition leader that is causing all these issues in South Africa, this guy has always been like that. The statement he released, he actually went after this president and the delegation that went to the White House. The guy was not happy. The guy has been chanting or saying some kind of things, about these white South Africans. At a certain point, when I look at him and his objectives, it's concerning. What Trump did here was very simple. Let me show you what is going on. Okay, he came with the videos. The mainstream media didn't see it that way. They are struggling to tilt away from the fact that certain issues like this are happening because they don't like the idea of Trump bringing in these people to stay in the United States. That is the problem. It has always been like that.
Yeah, I think everybody knows that the left's attitude is that because 3 generations or 2 generations earlier there was apartheid, everybody who is descended from the white minority that exercised power is still culpable for everything. And that while they might say, well, that's too bad, they don't really regret what's going on. They feel that it's sort of divine punishment. They're not going to do anything. We have reasons, though, to separate ourselves more from South Africa besides just, and that's one reason, but they are one of the most anti-Semitic countries in the world, and at least on their voting record in the UN. They're no friend of the United States. They're still on the fumes of Mandela among the American left, and we idolize them. But if you actually look at their crime rate and...
If you don't think Donald Trump is racist, then you did not just witness what happened between him and the South African president in the Oval Office while they were supposed to be discussing coming together on a bill. Donald Trump never about Gaza. He never gave you. So for everybody who said, oh my goodness, we are voting for him because Joe Biden allowed a mass genocide to happen. Donald Trump just asked the South African president in the Oval Office why he allowed white refugees to go through a genocide in South Africa. Do you know how fucking crazy that is? The same white refugees he brought here to take all the farmland that the government seized that have no farming skills. Same immigrants from Africa that their entire lineage is known for killing Africans to take their land. Yeah, he just asked the president of South Africa, the black president, why he allowed them to experience a genocide and confronted him on South Africa. That is not happening, by the way. It's not happening. So for everyone who's like, oh, well, why would we vote for Biden? And did he ask the leader why he's encouraging a genocide or seizing the Gaza Strip or unaliving thousands of people daily? No, but he asked in the name of white refugees. Okay. What timeline are we in?
To, correct the facts, let him know that the majority, and there is a lot of crime in South Africa, the majority is not against whites, it's against blacks. The majority is not against farmers, as you said in the intro. President Trump didn't want to hear any of it. It wasn't till one of the golfers and one of the white billionaires that he brought with him kind of said, look, President Trump, this is what's going on. And I think that's when, then there was a joke about the jet, which we'll talk about later. But that's when I think the meeting kind of turned and the tensions were lowered a little bit.
This is straight out of the conspiracy Africa.
Look, you guys are so triggered over 59 people.
No, I'm not.
After we left, 20 million people in the country. I don't know why you're so triggered. Haven't even brought up the white people that Trump picked out because they were white and told them they could come to the country. How much racial killing are you going to condone?
There are 19,000 in South Africa. 36 were on farms. 7 of the farmers were victims. Okay, this is according to the South African police.
And you think the South African government...
I don't want to make the video long. I think I'm going to end here to make the world a better place. It is for us to live together. This issue of discrimination is something I don't get it. Elon Musk made it clear the other day, these people don't want Starlink to operate in South Africa because he is not black. That is what Elon Musk said. When I look at the letter, this South African opposition party guy sent out, I concluded a lot of things from what Elon Musk said. He still repeated that he will always stand against him operating any business in South Africa. Why should this be happening? Why that kind of hatred? It doesn't mean because you disagree with someone, maybe some political issues, you have to do this. I understand every country has their own problem, but we should learn to fix it. I believe this guy going to meet Trump was for them to come to a compromise, to look into what is happening. At the end of the day, everybody's saying something else.
Right now, Sean did the hardest job on the...
Thank you guys who has been there, sharing out my videos. God bless you abundantly. And don't stop to support me.
I'm horrified. And we're back to our daily segment.
If you're having some issues in your marriage.
And actually found a way to bitch and moan about how hard it is to live in the White House.
When you walk through a storm, keep your head held high. Show.
Big debate going on in...
Think of Donald Trump's post this morning alleging that since I said I hate Taylor Swift,
will prevail.
It also shouldn't be racial.
Require Carmelo to run. He had
100.
Has been overwhelming. The lies in their amplification.
This is not going to end. Right is right and wrong is wrong. All good.
If you see any clips after this, that is just for the YouTube algorithm.
What if he says self-defense?
There's no self-defense because kids in here and resolve this issue is called conflict resolution.
Again, the evidence is still coming in.
This is definitely a self-defense case because it always is one until you look at the facts of the case and compare the two. You have to compare who was the initial aggressor.
Bedroom, because she's fearful of what might happen to her.
followers for anything, and then the
Registration Act is
talking about this man, Kilmer.
My summary of the first 100 days is that
if film and TV productions continue to
first term, and you will be very...
Once again, the field was littered with Wintour does every year. This Carmelo Anthony case.
Live in the White House. Many people
like a little unhinged drunk.
And black people don't want to live around ratchet black.
And I want to hear from the Democratic Party.
It's of the demonic person he is. And now we got to hear about you and the